Well, it's time for the keynote session. Well, we are honored to hear from an exceptional leader, a voice that has guided executives, transformed organizations, and inspired professionals across America and beyond. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the time has come for the keynote session, and trust me, you are in for something extraordinary. Well, our speaker this evening is a man whose influence has shaped leadership across the United States, and he's the CEO and founder of the Leadership Experience Tour, the nation's #1 platform for speakers, opening doors for entrepreneurs, coaches, and change makers across industries. And he is one of the most respected and sought after voices in leadership development, a mentor to Fortune 500 executives, a master storyteller, and a leader who does not just teach leadership, he embodies it. Everyone all together, please help me welcome with a huge round of applause the one and only Dr. Shawn Fair. Here we go. Come on, guys. Doctor, such a pleasure to see you all over again after Doha, and such an honor to share the stage with you. Over to you.
It is a pleasure. Thank you so much. How y'all doing? So, I'm just going to tell you a story. Do you guys mind participating as I tell the story? And as I tell you this story, I want you to listen hard, and I'm going to ask you a very important question at the very end. And the question is going to be justified or unjustified. So you guys ready? Here we go. So many years ago, I had a friend of mine. There's some music playing. You guys hear that? Okay. There was a friend of mine named Bob. And I was at church one day, and I was talking to one of the brothers at the church. They're just having some general conversation. And you know how you talk to someone and you feel like somebody just staring at you, right out your peripherals, you notice someone just looking at you? Well, that was Bob. He was brand new at the church. He had just walked to the door, but it was something about me where he said, you know what, let me just key in on him. Now, I'm still focused on the conversation I was having because I didn't want to be rude to the person that I was talking to. But when I was done, I walked over and introduced myself to Bob. I said, hello, my name is Shawn. What's your name? And he said his name was what? I just want to make sure you're paying attention to my story. And he said, man, this is my first day at church, and I was just wondering if I can just walk side of you. And I said, sure. So we went to Sunday school, and we sat next to each other, and we just had some great conversation. And I got a chance to know Bob pretty good. And I felt so good about Bob that after a while, him and I would go out to eat. Now, you guys know that when you go out to eat with folks, you start to get real personable with that person. And he started to tell me all about his family. He said, Shawn, I got a wife, I got 3 kids, and my marriage is not going so well. And I'm really struggling with it. And so I would just listen to Bob. He was just a real nice guy. And every time we would get together, he would start telling me about his marriage and how bad his marriage was. And because I was a good friend, I would just listen to Bob. You guys know that sometimes when you're having a good day and then you get next to this person, your good day turned into a bad day. Well, that's how it was with Bob. But because I was a good friend, I still went out to eat with him, and I would listen to him. Now, Bob had this one job, and he was making about $18 an hour, and he was a manager. And he was telling me that this one kid that was working for him had asked him a very important question because the kid respected Bob. The kid told Bob, he says, I got contacted by this company, and they said that they would give me $5 extra an hour versus what he was getting paid with Bob. And he was going to get better insurance. He had just had a brand new child. He was newly married, and he was asking Bob, should I take the opportunity? And because Bob was a good man, he said, if I was in your shoes, I would do what? Take the job. And that was the advice that he gave to Bob. And so the kid was just excited about the decision that Bob had gave to him. Now, you guys know that when you answer a question like that and you're a manager, you probably shouldn't do anything like that, because sometimes when you give out confidential information to somebody that you trust, that person then does what? They give it to somebody else that they trust, and the person they gave it to, they give it to somebody that they trust, and the best kept secret of all time becomes the worst kept secret of all time. And before you know it, this information gets to his manager. And when it got to his manager was really upset with Bob. As a matter of fact, he was so upset with Bob that what do you think happened? He fired Bob. Now, I want you to understand that he was on his last string with his wife. So when he got home to tell his wife that he had lost his job, that was the last straw. And she decides to get a divorce from Bob. Now, I want you to understand that I was taking a lot of phone calls from Bob at this time because he was just stressed out. He also had this Sunbird Pontiac. How many guys remember the Sunbird Pontiac? Right, that's an old car. And that car from time to time would leak oil. And Bob would call me every now and then and say, I'm on such and such a street, Shawn, and I was just wondering if you can just bring me a quart of oil. But because I was a good friend, what did I do? I would bring him a quart of oil, because that's just what we did for one another. But at the end of the day, Bob ended up divorced. He goes into a one-bedroom apartment, right? The kids are with the wife, the ex-wife. And he's just distraught, and he doesn't have a job. And so I felt real bad for Bob. But see, it gets even worse. Now the wife loses her job, can no longer afford to keep the 3 kids. Now Bob has got to take the 3 kids into his one-bedroom apartment where his mom has got to come and help out with those kids. The good news is he finally gets a job about 3 miles down the road from his new apartment. But now the Pontiac Sunbird has conked out on him. But the good news is he's only 3 miles away, and he would walk back and forth to work every single day. Bob was going through some challenges. Now, it's getting to the point that when Bob called me, I got to figure out, do I want to answer the phone or not? Because all the news was always what? Bad news. You guys understand the story. But because I was a good friend, I always answered the phone. But this particular time when he called me, he just had some good news. He said, Shawn, I got to tell you something. Something great has happened to me today. I got a phone call from UPS, and they're offering me a seasonal driving position. I said, is that so? He says, yes. He says they're going to start me at $18 an hour. If I'm there for 1 year, they'll bump me up to $21 an hour. If I'm there for 2 years, they'll take me up to $27 an hour. If I'm there for 3 years, they'll take me up to $31 an hour. And then the benefits are absolutely amazing. They have a 401k. The matching is 50 cents on the dollar. It's unlimited. It's a phenomenal opportunity. And I said, Bob, I'm happy for you, but I'm just waiting on to ask. He says, Shawn, it just so happens that the training for UPS is in Chicago. Well, we live in Detroit. He says, I don't have any luggage, and I was just wondering if I can borrow some of your luggage. But because I was a good friend, my answer to him was yes. As a matter of fact, I said, Bob, I will come pick you up, take you to Target, and I will buy your luggage for you because I am so happy for you. Now, he has to fly out to Chicago for his training. The same week he's in Chicago was the same week I was doing the training in California. And I'll never forget it. I was doing this workshop. You know, sometimes you do a workshop, you're looking at your phone, just kind of just seeing who's texting you. And I get this picture from Bob. Now, when I look at this picture, I didn't know if he was trying to tell me he was looking good today. I didn't know what it was because I didn't have time to read through all the information that came along with it. But when I took my break, I started reading. He says, Shawn, I'm in this holding room with another person, and the two executives are trying to figure out how to get us back to Detroit. And so I'm wondering, what do you mean by that? And he says, they are firing me. Now the question is, how do you get fired on your first day of training? That's what I want to know. And what he said is that they told me that my face was not clean shaven. Now when I looked at the picture, he looks clean shaven to me, but they said he had a 5 o'clock shadow. So when the two executives came back in the room, the first executive says, I want you to understand that we believe in second chances. And then the second executive says, if you guys don't mind, I have 2 cans of shaving cream, I have 2 wet towels, I have 2 shavers, and I have 2 pocket mirrors. I want you guys to shave right here. And so they commenced to shaving, and when they were done, the second executive was real polite about it. He says, gentlemen, now that you're done, I want you to take a real good look at yourselves. You guys see that image in the mirror? That's our expectations moving forward. Do you think that they have a problem with that? Do you think that they had a problem with that? No. They just got the job, right? They wanted the job. And let me just tell you that Bob was the pillar of excellence for the rest of the week. And so when he was done, he had to fly back out to Detroit, and he had to talk to his new manager. And his manager told him, he says, I heard about what you did in Chicago, and I can assure you that although they believe in second chances, I don't believe in third chances. But I was also told that you are the pillar of excellence for the rest of the week. And because of that, I'm going to partner you up with the best driver in the unit, which just happened to be a young female. She's got the best driving times in the unit, and I want you to drive with her. And whatever she tells you to do, I want you to do it. When you see her, you see me. So I need you to follow her instructions. So now they're in the truck riding together, and she's driving. Bob is on the other side, and she's kind of teaching Bob the ropes and telling him what he can do and what he shouldn't do. Now, while she's doing that, she's getting way behind schedule. But she knows that Bob has got to get some drive time. So she pulls over, puts Bob into the driver's seat, and now Bob is driving, and she's telling him to pull over here and pull over there and pull over here. And now she's trying to explain stuff to Bob, and she wasn't paying attention, and they missed this one little parking spot. They passed it. And she said, Bob, I just need you to back up real quick so I can just drop the package off because we already late. And Bob said, well, I don't want to back up. What I'm going to do is just a little Michigan U. I'm going to loop around. That way I can just kind of ease into the spot. And she says, well, we don't have time for that. I just need you to back up so I can go ahead and just drop the package off. And Bob says, I understand what you're saying, but I'm just going to go ahead and make the Michigan U. That way I can just kind of ease into the parking space. Now, they're going back and forth with one another about this. And finally, Bob decides to go ahead and do what? He made the Michigan U and defied her orders. Now, I want you to understand that she was upset at that particular time. And she told Bob to get back into the passenger side, and she got back into the driver's side, and she didn't say nothing to Bob for the rest of the trip. And the first thing that she did when she got back to the dock was what? She told the manager. And she told the manager, I gave Bob very specific instructions, and he defied those instructions. So what do you think happened next? Bob gets fired. Now, the question I have for you is very simple. Justified or unjustified? I don't want to work for none of y'all. Let me just say that. So a lot of people say justified because the manager said what? Do what she says. I don't believe in third chances. But in Bob's mind, he felt like he was justified. Here's the reason. Before he went to Chicago, he was told that he was supposed to read the training manual and the regulation book from top to bottom. Guess what Bob didn't do? He didn't read it, because had he read the book, he would have found out that on page 23/B, it says that drivers should be clean shaven at all times. Bob didn't follow policy. But I can tell you that after those 5 days, guess what Bob decided to do? Read the book. And when he read the book, he identified on page 27-C that drivers should never back up, because when drivers back up, 97% of the accidents that happen at UPS happens when? When drivers back up. So Bob says, I got dinged for not following policy the first time, but I'm not going to get dinged again for not following policy the second time. And here's the thing. The question is, why did the lady feel comfortable telling Bob to back up? I'll tell you why she felt comfortable. Because she never went to corporate training. She had on-the-job training with her manager. And guess what she saw her manager do all the time? Back up. So the question becomes, justified or unjustified? It was an unjustified firing. Now, the reason that I tell this story is because many times when we're making a decision about our employees, we're looking at what we see on the surface, but we're not asking all of the right questions to understand all of the particulars so that we can make an informed decision that's in the best interest of the organization. How many of you find yourself making decisions without doing a thorough investigation before making that decision? I'm just here to tell you that you should never do that. Because anyone that's working for you, they should be your first thought process. And you should treat them as a great asset of the organization. And if we took the time to hire the person, and we saw a great gift on the inside of that person, but we didn't do our due diligence, and they only been there for 1 week, and that's the decision we're going to make without the proper qualification, then I have to question the manager's what? I have to question the manager's decision-making, and also question their what? Qualification as well. So hopefully, you've gotten from this short presentation is that making the right decision requires that you take time to qualify, to get the right information. So with that being said, everybody, thank you so much for listening in.